In 1945, the Second World War came to an end. The victors were the countries of the anti-Hitler coalition, while the defeated were the Axis powers, Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and the Japanese Empire. Germany, as the main aggressor and instigator of the war, faced harsh consequences. Its territory was divided among the victors into 4 occupation zones: Soviet, American, British, and French. The same thing happened to Austria. Naturally, it seemed that Japan, which had committed no less horrific atrocities, would face similar consequences. One need only recall the Nanking Massacre, an event that stands in history as a symbol of unimaginable cruelty and disregard for human life. By all logic, Japan too should have been partitioned among the Allies and made to atone for its crimes. But this didn't happen. Why? Why wasn't Japan divided after the war like Germany was? And why did only one country take control? The Japanese Empire conducted most of its combat operations against the United States. The active phase of the conflict began on December 7, 1941, with the attack on Pearl Harbor and continued until August 14, 1945. Japan's entry into the war was driven by its policy of expansion in Asia and the Pacific. By mid-1942, it had gained control over vast territories, stretching from China to Southeast Asia and across numerous Pacific islands. This provoked a strong response from the United States, which began to methodically push Japanese forces back. The summer of 1945, American forces were closing in on the main Japanese islands. On April 5, 1945, the Soviet Union announced it was withdrawing from its neutrality pact with Japan, signed in 1941. Just a few months later, on August 8th, the USSR officially joined the Potsdam Declaration, authored by the US, UK, and China. In it, Japan was offered the chance to surrender unconditionally. The Japanese government refused. The next day, on August 9th, Soviet troops launched a military offensive against Japan. Meanwhile, just days earlier, on August 6th, the US had dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, and on August 9th, another one on Nagasaki. The destruction was catastrophic, and civilian casualties were immense. Hundreds of thousands died, most of them civilians. On August 14, 1945, Japan officially notified the Allies that it accepted the terms of the Potsdam Declaration. The war was over. In the Pacific theater, the United States had lost over 100,000 service members, killed or missing. The Soviet Union suffered around 36,000 losses, including those killed or who died of wounds. Even a small country like New Zealand lost nearly 600 citizens. These sacrifices, many believed, were reason enough for Japan to be divided among the victors, just like Germany. Yet that division never came. Why? From the very beginning, the United States assumed control of all of Japan's main territory. In practice, this meant a unilateral occupation. Even though initial plans considered a division of Japan into 4 zones, similar to what had been done in Germany, those plans were soon abandoned. France was never meant to participate in this arrangement. The northern part of Japan was to go to the Soviet Union, the south to the United Kingdom, the island of Shikoku to the Republic of China, while the main island of Honshu would be occupied by the United States. But in the end, none of this happened. The question of why only the United States occupied Japan has several answers. First and foremost, the US had become a global superpower by the end of the war, with unmatched military and political influence. Second, America had the nuclear bomb, a weapon it had just demonstrated to devastating effect in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This alone sent a clear message to the world: don't challenge the United States. Not even the Soviet Union dared to oppose America's decisions regarding Japan. In addition, the US had borne the brunt of the fighting against Japan. Its Navy, Army, and Air Force were the main driving force behind the campaign in the Pacific. Many in Washington believed they had earned the right to oversee Japan's future on their own. They saw little reason to share control with other nations, which they felt had contributed less to the victory over Japan. Britain, for example, was economically exhausted, while France had done almost nothing in the Pacific theater and was already being given back its former colonies in Indochina. China, under Chiang Kai-shek, had no interest in occupying parts of Japan. His priority was ending the civil war against the communists on the mainland. As for Britain, it declined to occupy Japanese land for a very practical reason: it lacked the resources to rebuild the proposed territory. And perhaps most significantly, that very territory included Hiroshima and Nagasaki. No one wanted to be responsible for cities ravaged by nuclear attacks. The devastation, radiation, and health consequences made the area extremely dangerous. The Soviet Union, though it had fought against Japan at the war's end, received territorial gains in the form of South Sakhalin and the Kuril Islands. This was a form of compensation, and the United States accepted it. However, Joseph Stalin was unhappy that the USSR was excluded from the actual occupation of Japan. This indicated that the defeated empire would not only avoid being split up, but would also become pro-American and firmly anti-communist. And that is exactly what happened. From 1945 to 1952, Japan was under the sole occupation of the United States, excluding the lost territories of Korea, South Sakhalin, and the Kuril Islands. The Japanese homeland was administered entirely by America. This became a powerful precedent for the new geopolitical world order. Japan, once a militaristic empire, was transformed into a peaceful nation with a US-influenced constitution. And although decades have passed, the consequences of that unique post-war arrangement are still felt to this day.